Here's a review of my absolute favorite machete, the Cold Steel Kukri Machete. This machete I got a couple years ago. I think I've had it 2 to 3 years now. As you can see, this thing is beat. Um, I've used this on, you know, 20, 30 trips so far. Still got the original sheath. It's holding up good. Not the greatest, but that's cold steel. The sheaths are always lacking. We'll just toss this aside and focus on the machete. So let's cut right to the chase. Why do I like this machete? The kukri style is a good style for chopping wood. You develop a lot of momentum in your swing. The front end being heavier, you develop all that momentum towards the front. Very good for chopping trees, which is a majority of what I use a knife for, is processing wood. The thick blade, it's a thick blade, nice sharp point. I do occasionally use this for some fine work. I do keep this right down here as razor sharp as I can and try never to use it in the when I'm chopping wood. I try to keep it right in the sweet spot, in the thick spot when I'm chopping. But the finish is coming off, and that's okay because when it gets too bad, I'll just spray paint it. Because you can spray paint these. You can actually make these camo. If you go on the Cold Steel website, they do have some videos of them taking some of the blades and spray painting them camo, and they actually turned out looking pretty nice. I'm not sure how durable it'll be, but if you got to do it once a season, oh well. A can of spray paint's only a couple of bucks. I've used this so much. I've used this to take down trees. I've used it to split wood, baton wood. It does baton pretty decent, even though it's got the the rounded back. It is a little difficult because you do have to be a little more careful because of the rounded back, and it's a little tougher to baton with a machete that's not straight. But I've batoned a lot of wood with this, and it goes through wood. I mean, you can take down a 4-inch tree with this in no time, and branches, live wood. I mean, this thing really does it. And there's a lot. You go on the website and you can see they torture test this thing, and this thing's you wouldn't believe the stuff people put this knife through and what it's taken. I mean, they've just go on and search Cold Steel Kukri Machete torture test, and you'll find the videos on YouTube where people just torture this thing forever trying to break it. And it's a really, really sturdy knife, and I have a lot of faith in it because I've seen how much this thing can take, and I've had this in wood, and it's hit knots, and the blade gets a little bendy because you're plowing through knots, but it always comes back nice and straight in the end. Good handle. Handle's a real good material. It's got a lanyard, so if you want the lanyard, if I'm processing a lot of wood, I do got to use a glove with this because it will rip me up pretty good. But you're talking after hours, of cutting wood and doing it for a whole weekend. But this is a machete you can beat on and beat on and beat on, and it's just as good as the day I got it. And as for upkeep, I guess I'm not like a purist when it comes to machetes, and they don't got to be perfect and look perfect. I just take a file and basically file the blade. I have a piece of wood, and I put it in the piece of wood, and then just run the machete, try up, away, so you're not cutting your hands, but I'd run the machete up the blade and on both sides, and then after I'm done with the file, usually after the file, this thing will be pretty ragged. The blade will feel like, you can actually, if you run your finger down, you'll feel all the little tiny micro serrations that the file creates in it. And it's really ragged, and it's good for chopping wood. But you chop 3, 4, 5 times, all those little micro serrations are now gone, and your blade's right back to where it was. So I like to hit it with the file, and then hone it with a sharpening stone to kind of smooth it out a little bit. And I keep it just shy of being able to take the hair off your arm. Enough where you can feel it pulling the hair, but not enough. When I've sharpened it up really sharp, I find it just after 1 or 2 whacks, the sharpness is gone, and it really doesn't help anything with the penetration. More of a utility edge is better for this. It gives you a little better penetration, and it lasts a lot longer. So I have kind of pulled this back a little bit with the file so that the blade is so the actual edge is a little less. It's not as steep, So I pulled it back a little with the file, a little bit every time, trying to get it exactly where I want it. But the edge straight from the factory is not the greatest because when you get these, the whole thing is going to be covered in this black coating. So when you get it, you're going to take it and you're going to whack it against the tree, and it's not going to cut that great, and you're going to be disappointed. Get this thing. Don't worry about it. Who cares how it looks? Get the file. Take off the black coating so that you can see the blade. Take that off. Then you do it again. Now you've got a nice cutting knife. Do that 10 more times, and because it's such a steep angle on the bevel, bring that bevel back a little bit. Your cutting performance will improve throughout time, especially if you do just a little bit every time you do it. That way you're not overdoing it. And I've got it now after a couple of years now of having this. I've got it right where I want it, and the edge is right where I want it. So I just touch it up now as I use it, and this thing, it's the best chopper I have. It was about $25, maybe 26, 27 tops. But of all the knives I have, this thing chops wood better than anything. It's, I believe, a 12-inch blade, weighs about 1.5 pounds. Best chopper out there. I mean, I'd love to try something better. I mean, if something chops better than this, I'd love to find it and try it. So, if someone has a direct comparison where they have this and they have another machete, they can say it's definitely better. I'd love to hear it. But this is Bushcraft 412 with the Cold Steel Kukri Machete. $25, great machete.